Welcome and well met to Words of Azem, the Final Fantasy XIV fan podcast. We're a group of warriors of light from Lamia world on Primal Data Center here to chat the hour away. I'm Yosef Rapolianis, veteran black mage, and with me I have our ever-fierce warrior Kilira Tellian.
Hello.
And the High Soaring Dragoons, Asaria Limley.
Hello.
And Midori Toka.
Hello.
So, it's been a couple of months. We haven't recorded since, well, the last FanFest and... No, not even that. The last... Two MSQ patches ago.
6.4.
Yeah, it's been quite a wait. So today we're going to try and cover what went down, the big things that went down in the last story patch, and then we'll move on to the FanFest, which I attended in London. Of course, we'll be focusing mainly on the announcements at the keynote there. But first off, going back to what was the name of the latest patch? Growing Light?
Yes.
Yeah, Growing Light. 6.5, Growing Light. So the MSQ has, well, it hasn't really wrapped up entirely yet because we are still waiting on the .55 continuation leading fully into Dawn Trail. But we have now seen the conclusion of the Void story that's been ongoing for the past 4 MSQ patches?
I mean, basically all of them. I mean, 6.1 didn't really cover it. They sort of set it up. So It's been 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, it ended with the fight everybody expected it to end with.
Yeah, the Zeromus fight.
Yeah, even before the end of 6.4, it's pretty obvious that Zeromus was going to show up. But I think it overall went pretty well. I think the broad strokes were about what I expected, but there was a couple things I didn't quite expect.
Yeah, I'm personally very glad that Zero didn't get killed off.
Yes,
there were plenty of death flags.
I think the most surprising thing is they didn't kill Golbez. I mean, I know he doesn't die in 4, but it just seems like that they would have done that anyway. But I think the way they handled it was pretty good here.
I never really thought Zero was going to get killed off, but Golbez I figured was going to get the general typical villain send off. But that did surprise me a bit that he's sticking around, but I do like it.
Yeah, that should be interesting in an expansion or 2.
Oh yeah. I think we're coming back to Void stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The fight was pretty good. I like the Zeromus fight a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good fight. I mean, the fights have been just stellar. The boss fights have been stellar in these patches.
I really like the expanding black hole with the sweeping laser at the same time.
That was the one.
I did not like the Sage that died to that every single time. I did not like that.
I died to it the second time
did it.
It
got everyone the first time, and then most people got it sorted out. But our first run, that Sage just could not figure it out. I don't know.
I didn't get to it until a week or two later, so everybody else seemed to know what they were doing. But I understood what it did. Then for the second one, I guess I just didn't move a slight pixel or two enough, and then it sucked me in.
Yeah, it's very sensitive. You have to be you have to be closer to the edge of the platform than you think. But,
I just.
The other tricky thing with it is while it's not fast, it is faster than what you think when you first see it moving.
Yes. If you try to stop and cast, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah. You should mention that this patch released a little over a month ago, a month and 2 weeks or so. So it's been quite a while now, but we did play when it came out. Well, Azaria was late, but the rest of us played when it came out.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had the day off, was prepared to do it, and then just end up not feeling well at all.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting to about 2 weeks later, and it still feels like, oh my gosh, that was a while ago since I've played it.
So yeah, it was a good fight. I think the overall the part in the dungeon where we end up going into Baron Castle was pretty neat. They did a really good job of sort of implying the larger situation without spending a lot of time expositing to us about it. So I thought that was a really good use of a dungeon to flesh out some of the story. because they didn't bother to sit down and like explain to us what was going on at that exact moment, but you could pretty much figure it out. So I like that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I barely remember the dungeon. Like I think what stood out to me the most, like I remember like where it took place and all, like, but like I think what stood out to me more was like the bits with Zero in the first. With
that was all. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, because we got to go back to the first. We got to meet Reen, and a surprise appearance. We got to meet Gaia in an MSQ quest.
Yeah,
that was cool.
She showed
was
up,
that
I'm like, oh.
something here? Because was there anything different if you didn't do the raid series? I know most people probably have done it. But...
I don't think that scene plays if you haven't completed Eden.
Okay.
That's what
I don't think so. Either that, or perhaps there's no added bit of context afterwards. Because the first thing Gaia does is act as if she doesn't know who you are.
Yeah.
So maybe they do something with that. I haven't actually looked into that.
My understanding from reading stuff was that it doesn't play, but I'm not 100% certain on that.
So it's similar to like all the allies showing up at the end of Endwalker's.
It's kind of like that. So we'll see how they handle that going forward, because they definitely want to include that stuff, and they're going to need to, but it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
Without making Eden mandatory. Which they could always do.
They could always do that. Like, honestly, it wouldn't seem too unlikely that they will start just making more raids mandatory, but like just make it so that they don't become mandatory until pretty late in the game. Because like at that point, it's not like it's a hard thing to get through.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not difficult to get through the normal raids at this point. So yeah. Anything else about the MSQ we want to talk about? We don't really know. Like, we have a general idea of what's going to happen next to get us into Dawn Trail, but
I have a grievance to bring up.
Oh yes, I know you have a grievance.
Yeah, no. This is a grievance so big. I was really hoping to get a chance to tell to Yoshipi's face in person. I was not given that opportunity. They got rid of Zero's hat. That is like
paladins aren't allowed to tip their hats.
It's like so many people on Twitter were like, "Oh, I don't like that she's a paladin now. Like, why did she become paladin?" Like, no. Of course she was going to become a paladin. Like, she was basically a paladin in the flashbacks already, and she's the Cecil stand-in. Of course that was going to happen. But like, give her a fucking hat.
Well, maybe she'll find a new hat.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Basically, what they should do in the next appearance is have her have a helmet, but have her do that hat emote.
With the visor. Pulling it down.
But yeah, so other than Zero's horrible lack of a hat, we met the legs of what we believe to be the unknown female voice in the trailer.
Yeah, and everyone
they appear to probably be a female Hearthgar.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I thought that at first, but the more I've been thinking about it, I think they're playing us. I don't think it's gonna be that simple, but maybe it could be.
Yeah.
They looked a little scrawny, and then again, it could be that they just fuck up and make the Hrothgar female models scrawny, but like, we'll see. We also Kryle got an earring, right?
It was something, some piece of jewelry,
a clover,
or an amulet, or something. It was a clover, yeah.
Which people have been speculating about as well.
All right, so let's hold that off for Dawn Trail talk. Let's talk real quick about Mists of the Realm.
Mists of the Realm, right? The plot twist everyone knew was coming came.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was like everybody figured out who that Ashan was.
Yeah.
What's his name? I can never remember his
name.
The
Wanderer. He does have a name.
I can't remember the guy's name.
I want to say it starts with an O.
Yeah, it does.
Whatever. Anyway, we figured it was him, and they didn't waste a huge amount of time on that.
Sean.
I thought it was. Well, that's the name of the god, but I can't remember the name of the guy. His name he was.
Fuck. I don't have that in my screenshots.
But that was pretty good. I enjoyed it overall. I think the final boss was maybe a little bit over-designed, but...
Yeah, Eulogia was much.
I get what they were going for, and I don't know if there was a more elegant way for them to have done that same concept.
Yeah, when you blend 12 characters and ultimately 12 bosses into one, there's only so much you can do without just rejecting it and making one thing instead.
Yeah, I don't remember the design offhand actually, but what I can say is I did like the fight. I did like what they did with the fight.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
The design is a more humanoid version of the Nightmare Flowey from Undertale. It's ridiculous. It's just so extra, details everywhere, and multiple wings, and it's ridiculous.
Took me forever to figure out the tell for one of the attacks because the design was too busy.
Yeah.
And I think it only had one new attack, and you see right at the start, and I think everything else was just cycling through old attacks.
Yeah, it was mixing up attacks from the previous bosses.
Yeah, I don't remember how it worked, but I remember the new one the first time or two it did it. I didn't understand something about it, and towards the end it clicked. But not like it mattered that much because it wasn't. It seemed like it was very intentionally designed to not be a very difficult fight because I think it didn't.
It was the one where it would move between 3 different waypoints and then do a half arena.
Yeah,
cleave,
yeah.
And you had to pay really close attention to what direction its arm was pointing to figure out what was going to happen.
So I figured that out near the end. That's how you're supposed to tell.
It's also hard to see where it's going on the floor because it's not a clear tell where it's stopping because the floor design doesn't make it stand out. So I think the visual complicated design hurts that part.
Yeah, the floor design just being almost like a sun with rays across a circle platform.
What?
Because most of the boss arenas in Final Fantasy XIV have pretty clear lines to guide you where to stand, but this one kind of doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's
they saw the lines on the floor video and were like, "Well, if we figured that out, we're not going to do that anymore."
Yeah.
Yeah, might partly be a victim of having the mechanics from 10 different bosses.
Yeah.
But also being 24-man means if you're playing with all the visual effects on, you're going to also have a whole bunch of player effects too, which also clouds things.
I turn off all the other player visual effects for 24-mans. You can't do it nowadays. Back in ARR it was okay, but it's just too much. You can't see a thing. I turn for 24-mans I turn off all of them, and then except for my own, and then for 4-man and 8-man stuff, I put it on limited. I have a macro on my hotbar to toggle between those real fast.
So for the boss fight, what I appreciate about the boss fight is that this is a fight where it's very clearly is not something trying to kill us, and I think the fight design reflects that because it is a very easy boss, and this is partly because I don't think it ever combines mechanics. I think the whole thing is one mechanic at a time.
They probably could have. I think they could have mixed it up a little more than they did. But you kind of. I get what they were going for.
Yeah, and at the end of the fight, and it was hard to tell because the second it hits 0, the screen goes black. But it looked like I saw at the end. It seemed like I don't know if this was the name of an attack it used before, but I don't think it was. It said cast something like Love's Light, and I think if I saw the screen correctly, it looked like it healed everyone to full. I don't know if I saw something wrong, but so I might have completely not seen this correctly. But it seemed to me like it was ending the fight by restoring the whole party, which if that's what was actually happening was kind of cool reflection of the fight. But I'm not sure if I was seeing what actually happened correctly.
I don't remember that happening, but I haven't
it's possible
done that since then, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's possible I saw some healer full heal everyone at the last second. So
all right. For the overall outcome, gods are gone. We all expected that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
This was not surprising. This entire raid has not been a surprise,
Yeah, it was pretty clear what was going to happen from the get-go.
Especially there's a point in this one where if you didn't think that was going to happen, it practically tells you before they actually tell you. But
But overall, I thought it was pretty good. They cleared up some long-standing stuff that's been around since 1.0 that it sort of feels like they've wanted to tie up that part of the lore. And now they don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, like in general, like these patches have been such a. It's been like they're cleaning the plates, like to like be able to sort of start over fresh with new lore and new concepts for Dawn Trail, and it's been a good decision. It hasn't always felt necessarily all that fulfilling or interesting, but it's better to have it. It's better to have it done than to have it just linger, because otherwise you will just have another 10 years of people going like, well, what are the 12s then? Why are the 12s not considered like horrible ether-eating primals, etc.? So getting it out of the way is just was probably the best call. It felt a little hand-wavy at times with how they tried to tie it into Heidelin and Venat from the from the past, but overall it mostly worked out.
It was fine, yeah. I did. It was kind of cute how let you talk to the god, to most of them before the last part starts. Though it did feel kind of thin at times. Like there were. I like the idea of talking to them all, but there were some where it's like, okay, I think this guy feels like he's here just because you need to talk to him. There it has like 2 lines, but
it turns out that a 12 god pantheon is a lot.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I don't know if other people thought this, but I was thinking the Oppo Oppo would have been the 12th boss, like the main god, but no, it was just an Oppo Oppo.
They give you a dialogue choice for that, which is very funny.
And I picked that one. So when you make a character, does it let you choose from all 12 of the gods?
Yeah.
Yes.
I assume it does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess for me at least, when I talked to mine, she acknowledged it. I don't know if, or it seemed to.
They all acknowledge it. If you talk.
Okay.
That's kind of like the whole point. That's like the whole point of that little section.
I guess if you chose one of the ones that was not there yet, you just kind of get left out.
I think it's brought up by them like in the cutscene afterwards. If you have them, they add in a line from that one after the fights.
It's very little, but there's like some of it there. And that was like probably like the thing that kind of disappointed me was I feel like at this point, like after, because of like how long this has been a thing in universe, they could have put in like one specific unique cutscene per pantheon per god, so that you could get like one truly special moment for your character with them, rather than just like, oh, here's an extra line or two.
And it kind of gets back to. It kind of gets back to my thing where the whole thing for a lot of them just felt kind of thin. Like, here, we're going to do this thing, but on the one hand, it's like, okay, we don't want to give them each a 5-minute cutscene, but at the same time, I think one of them was literally like 2 lines.
Yeah.
They were basically all just like a line or 2.
Yeah, and to be fair, like, it's also one of the most arbitrary things in the entire game to begin with. Like, it does not really matter, so...
It's one of those things where, like, I think it depends on the player. It's like, for some players, it's like a choice you make at character creation and then you forget about it, and then others, it's like, it could be an important part if you're role-playing a lot. So it's kind of a weird balance to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where they, like, the sheer difference between how much it matters to different characters, different players, just meant that they had to make a decision about how much emphasis to put on it. And I think this was fine. There's arguments for it being better, but I didn't feel particularly upset. I
was fine with the acknowledgement. I felt like the overall, the more general scenes felt thin for me.
What I want to see, and I would love them to release this data. What I'd like to see a breakdown of over all characters who've played for more than like an X amount of time. And what's the percentage for each deity?
Yeah, I think
that would be interesting.
I put up a poll on Twitter where I asked, now that Myth of the Realm was over, what people felt in regards to having picked one of their guardians, the character creation, if they liked the choice, if they didn't. And apparently 33% of that poll said that they did not like it after playing Myth of the Realm and decided to change it. No one apparently felt like it's not a big poll, but like we got not a single vote on no, I didn't like it, but I'm keeping the Guardian. So
interesting.
Yeah, apparently, so it does matter to some.
Yeah,
I didn't realize you could even change your Guardian.
Yeah,
well, you have to use
Fantasia. You can change anything with Fantasia.
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah, I'm one of those ones where I picked it at the start and I completely forgot about it.
I picked mine.
Yeah, because it has no effect.
Yeah, I picked mine to start to tie into the name of my character, because like Yozora, Night Sky, so I picked Melvina because she's the moon, and then like it's been working out perfectly. So like very happy with that.
Yeah, I just picked the one with the name that I thought sounded best.
All right, so let's talk about Dawn Trail.
Yay! Let's talk about Dawn Trail.
So we actually did not cover the original, the first Fan Fest at all.
No, we didn't.
None of us were at that, although a couple of our other people who we're acquainted with were.
People in our free company, yeah.
Yeah. Well, technically, Ami's not in our free company.
Oh yeah, okay, true.
She may as well be. She's not even on Lamia.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So basically, the two big guesses for this expansion was either the New World or Mericidia, right?
Yeah.
And it ended up being the New World, which was the leading contender.
Oh, absolutely.
I really feel like.
It was actually kind of funny because, like, on the day of the American FanFest, we held a Final Fantasy 14 meetup at a Swedish convention. So, like, just hours before the keynote started, we had a meetup with a bunch of Final Fantasy 14 players, and we actually like asked there, like people like were like doing like bets on like predicting what it was gonna be. It was really fun, and yeah, like and most people were in agreement it was gonna be the New World, and it was the New World.
Yeah. So we are going to the New World, in Dawn Trail, Tural, yes. Which, if you look at the map, it's like the northern 2/3 of South America, functionally. Because the map is getting even more like the real world as we see more of it, honestly.
Yeah, they expanded the classic 1.0 map. And they also changed the art style of the map, which is funny. But
they did, yes. It is kind of funny when you look at the three great continents, because you clearly have Africa and you've got Eurasia, except for most of Western Europe just isn't there.
Yeah.
It's very strange. And calling it three great continents is really pushing it. Yeah. In my opinion. Unless Ilzabard is like way skinnier than it appears under those clouds. I really wish they'd get rid of those clouds, because I want to know what Ilzabard actually looks like.
Yeah, one day.
So yeah, we're going to the New World, and we're going to Tural, where there are lots of Mamulja, apparently lots of Hrothgar, and apparently we get ourselves wrapped up in a succession crisis. That's always fun.
Yeah, so this honestly like set off some red flags the moment you started talking about it, because like it felt very much like it was gonna be a case of Stormblood again. We're like, oh hey, we go to a completely different part of the world and we're so important that we affect the rulership there. But it seems that they actually want to like be a bit more careful with it this time. Kate, forget her last name now.
Yeah, I don't remember her last name.
Talked about how like they like the dev team have acknowledged that they kind of messed up with stuff like that in the past, and like are working to like not do that with Dawn Trail, which is hopefully good.
Well, that's interesting. I hadn't heard that they commented on that.
Yeah. It kind of sounds to me like we stumble into it, but the other Scions get specifically called over.
Yeah.
To deal with it, because it looks like, because like they told us that we're going to be working separately from like Ishtola and Urianger and Thancred and Garaha, and we'll have the twins, Aaronville, Kryl,
no.
and it.
Well, okay, they
haven't specified with Graha, but he's not with us.
They actually like even as late as last month's FanFest, they said that they wouldn't specify any Scion on any side of the thing.
It's
all right. Well, I mean, they say
here...
specifically who is with us. So we know we have Alphinaud, Alisei, and Erenville, and we know we have Kryl. So we've only seen Graha in the city. We haven't seen him on the boat. So we can only say for certain we have the people on the boat. So there's that. We do.
But it's also possible that the division doesn't happen until they arrive.
Yeah, that's true. But the way it's being set up, I don't know. It feels like we accidentally end up there together separately.
Maybe.
You know?
Yeah, it's the thing with the envelopes that they're doing. You're wondering if that could be the two different factions.
But Kryl's envelope is old. That's the thing. Kryl's envelope is not a new arrival. It was sent to her grandfather. She just found it.
Yeah, it's...
The others have gotten new messages.
Yeah, it's possible that the grandfather letter is from like a previous Rite of Succession or something.
Yeah, so... here's how I see things have worked out right now. So... The other Archons, we know that Urianger and Thancred have gotten letters. We assume Y'shtola has. I don't think we've been told she has, but we're assuming she has, right?
Yeah.
Because she's also an Archon. So they've gotten new recent letters. Kryl found an old letter to her grandfather with the clover thing inside. And it's faded and hard to read. Erenville has shown up with a mysterious person from the New World. And we know that Erenville ends up with us. So I think that the other Scions are going to go themselves, and then we, completely independently, are going to go with Erenville and this new person, and not realize that we've gone to the same place until we meet them in Tyrol. That's what I think.
Yeah, could be.
And that I feel like makes the most sense. Even though I feel that the coincidence of Kryl finding the letter is extremely coincidental, but, you know, that's storytelling for you.
Yeah, a lot of people have been also speculating about the fact that, like, in the trailer, when we see Erenville, Warrior of Light, going to Tyrol, Alphinaud is on the boat, but we're not allowed to see him.
We see him from a distance.
Yeah,
we do see him from a distance.
We see him from a distance, but like his face is always covered.
Yeah. I think that's just a blocking issue because I think they're hiding us from seeing Kryl.
Could be, because Kryl has not been shown yet, and a lot of people are assuming that she's going to be the new DPS mage job.
Or the new magic DPS, which I think is a fairly reasonable assumption.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
And they're also hiding us from seeing the mysterious unknown lady, who we're presuming is the same person we saw at the end. We saw the legs of at the end. And so I'm guessing that in the trailer, just how it's blocked out, Alphinaud, when he's visible on screen, is next to them. So they can't show him up close yet until.
Although he's also not shown in the city where all the other Scions get little single shots of themselves.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
But yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
But until we see the full trailer, I don't think we can make.
No, of course not, and that's not gonna be until January. So
yeah,
at the Tokyo Fan Fest.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be interesting to find out how Estinian ends up there. Because I actually legitimately think that I legitimately think that Y'shtola is just going to drag him along.
You don't think Tataru is gonna be involved somehow?
I think that's gonna be it. I think Y'shtola is gonna be like, wow, it really would be nice to have somebody who can stab things. And Tataru's gonna be like, hey, Estinian, you want to go along with Y'shtola? And he's very good at stabbing things. I like his part of the trailer where he where he does the Dragoon jump onto the big swamp monster. I thought
Since this is Estinian, I suspect the reason's going to be something funnier than that.
I mean, yeah, he's absolutely just going to get dragged along because he has nothing else to do.
We find him washed up on a beach.
Yeah, I was just about to say, what if he just ended up there, like, by accident?
Yeah. Oh.
He was flying on, like, one of his new dragon friends. But it's also very interesting because, like, they talk about how we're doing like an El Dorado thing, where, like, we're on the search for the city of gold, and that does not seem to be what the others are doing if it's going to be about a right to succession thing, unless that's tied to the city of gold thing somehow, which it could be.
So we do know that we don't know, but I mean the big action set piece with us in the trailer is us fighting the current leader.
Yeah,
so clearly we're gonna fight them. I'm
almost positive that's like gonna be like some kind of like friendly sparring match of some sort.
Probably. I'm assuming he's probably a dungeon boss.
Yeah, it's gonna be like the final dungeon boss of like your first dungeon, and then like afterwards he's like, you're quite a fighter and something.
Yeah. So without more information about the whole succession issue, it's really hard to say. One thing that is interesting in the trailer is during the scenes of the Scions in the city.
Yeah.
When Thancred's down trying to gather information and Urianger's like sort of up on a balcony watching, Urianger turns to look at what's clearly the palace, and then it zooms in on us. So it would be interesting to see if that is actually like things happening simultaneously, or if that's just a flourish for the trailer.
Could be. It's got like there's a lot of question marks right now. They've avoided actually like setting up much of the events in the patches this time around, which obviously was deliberate. Because normally like we would know exactly where we're going, if not by 0.4, by 0.5 definitely.
Yeah.
So that's basically what we know about like the setting. And they showed off some areas. And some dungeons.
Yeah, lots of foresty areas.
We're going on a jungle cruise.
They showed us the city. Yeah. Let me see if what's interesting. We got a dungeon area. We got a desert area.
The desert area is the one where they're like, oh, there's a big secret.
And there's a big secret in the desert area.
Yeah, and like. That we have a feeling that's gonna be probably related to like the apparent ceruleum stuff going on here.
Yeah, because one of the dungeons and one of the sort of raid bosses, trial bosses, are hinting at. They are hinting at that there is a lot of secret machinery in the area.
I gotta tell you, that ceruleum plant looks a lot like the one in Northern Thanalan.
Is it old Allegan stuff, or is it something that maybe?
No, it looks like it look. I mean, it looks a little Garlean, but like not entirely Garlean.
Yeah,
but it doesn't look Allegan at all.
I think what it reminded me of the moment they said like they couldn't show this thing in like on like the horizon of one of these images. It reminded us of the Keeper of the Lake. Like, not necessarily the exact context of, like, a Guardian mega ship crashed here and changed things, but, like, something of that style, where, like, there's gonna be, like, a big waymark in the distance that's obviously not natural, and that'll be, like, a key point.
But, but if you look at that ceruleum plant dungeon, at least the artwork, it doesn't look elegant.
No.
But it doesn't look entirely Garlean either.
But it could easily be some kind of, like, Garlean-esque colonization effort that's been going on, because we know stuff like that has been going on throughout like the Blue Mage quest, for example.
Yes. So if we look at the zones, we've got a jungle zone, we got a kind of mountainy zone, we've got what kind of an area that looks like it's got a beach of some sort, and we have the desert zone that we've only seen the one key art of.
The one with the train tracks, right?
Yeah, that's the one that's got the hidden thing
Yeah, Shalani.
They didn't want to show us.
Shalawani.
Yeah.
Yeah. They look really nice, by the way. Like,
they do.
The graphic update is doing a really good job, of course, but like, we're really liking how vibrant all the locations look.
Yeah.
And without looking, because like they're doing forests and deserts again, it could easily just have looked like, you know, Lenosha, Grenania, and Shroud and Fanalan again, but it actually looks unique, and that's really cool.
Yeah, they've done a good job of making it look different, because like I would say that the deserty zone kind of has a bit of Fanalan flavor to it compared to say Amarong or the Alamigo areas.
Yeah,
but it's still pretty different.
Yeah, it actually reminds me a lot of the opening zone in Final Fantasy 15. Which also was also this like desert wasteland with like these little like what are they called, like windmill style things going on around.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks cool.
I'm looking at the screenshots, and you know what it looks like? It looks like Arizona. That's where it looks like.
Yeah,
yeah.
I've heard a lot of comments like that. Like the dungeon is Florida.
It looks like this. It looks like the Southwest United States, northern part of Mexico. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
New Mexico, Arizona. In fact, I would not be surprised if we see a tumbleweed in the zones go past.
And it's got that kind of cacti and low shrub brush.
Do we have a tumbleweed minion yet?
And if you compare to like Amarong is more like what do I want to say? I feel it's more like central China type deserts.
Yeah.
And Thanaland tends to be like more African.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. One thing it kind of actually just you mentioning Arizona and New Mexico reminds me of like the Roadrunner and Coyote cartoons.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really good. Yeah.
And the rock formations you see are very much like that area of the United States. That how the rock formations appear there. So
makes sense given the location they're going for.
Yeah. So what else do we have to talk about? We got the graphics update. Apparently there's some new thing they wanted to show, but it was not ready, so they ended up showing us some details about the graphics update in the keynote. A lot of it was about
Aura horns,
shadow mapping on Lalafell chins, which is
that was really interesting. But
it's one of those.
It was probably the most boring part for most viewers of that stream.
Yeah, like that part is like it's one of those things where it seemed very trivial, but if you've actually ever dealt with like 3D models and stuff, it's a huge pain. It's a huge pain. And like the aura horns getting the specularity just right to make them look like bone and not like plastic.
Yeah, that was a good change.
And it's one of those things that is very difficult to get right in all situations because it's going to be very lighting dependent.
Yeah, when they showed off the horns in the previous live letter, I was thinking they thought they still look kind of plasticky, and this one's like, this looks much better.
So that was pretty neat. They had announced the double die channels, which will be interesting to see how that's implemented.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Honestly, like it's gonna, because like you have a lot of like outfits right now that like would look much better if you could just change the second tone in them. Like the Fall Guys hoodie. Like we love the Fall Guys hoodie, but a lot like it's always gonna be purple at the bottom right now, and a lot of colors don't go well with that.
I haven't even bothered to see. I didn't even bother to see how it died. So.
They showed off some new. Showed off the strategy board, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, not certain how useful that'll be for most people, but I feel it feels like a thing that Japan is going to use a lot, and the West is going to be like, why?
The fact that you can like save them and just load them, means like it's going to be very useful for like duty finders and learning parties.
It feels like an advancement of how like the JP data centers use macros for high end rating, and it just feels like a thing that the Western data centers are just not going to pick up and use, because it just feels like that, because that's like whatever.
Yeah, another minor change or update they're doing is the glasses accessory. So
that's actually that's really neat.
Yeah.
So what I think is going to happen is I think that eventually they are going to expand that to more general type of glamour slots, and that'll greatly expand like our ability to mix and match stuff.
Yeah, hopefully. It's a good change. Like having had like sunglasses and such only be like a headgear accessory, it's not been a good call in general. But it also makes sense that they did it, of course, because like there's memory has to always be considered when changing the models. But yeah, it's a good change.
I could see them maybe doing something like not adding it into the main glamour plates, but having a separate accessory plate where you can swap that out, you know, depending there, but it's set in a general pattern, so you've got like 16 different accessory makeup.
So, I'm also thinking that they could eventually use this to allow glamoring of like Viper offhands.
That's a great segue. So the new job is Viper.
Yes, it is not Corsair, as what everybody thought after the first FanFest.
Yeah.
Everybody was thinking sword and gun, but it turned out to be double sword.
Yeah. To be fair, like at least when people were wrong this time, they were wrong because it's an original job. So like, there was no way to properly predict the exact details in this case.
Yeah.
And they were still basically right, you know. Like it was that like you have a sword and another weapon here. Just
Yeah, it feels based a little bit on crap. I just forgot his name. Final Fantasy IX protagonist.
Zidane.
Zidane. Feels like because the swords combine together to form the double bladed thing that he uses.
Swallow.
Yeah, the Darth Maul thing.
It's not the Swallow Blade because that's from Chrono Cross.
Right. Yeah. It's similar.
But that's what it is. But like, I don't think it has a real name because I don't think it's a real thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Swallow Blade is probably the best term I've ever heard for it.
Yeah, it's a really cool. It's a really cool.
But that's
concept.
Actually from Chrono Cross.
Yeah. We need more Chrono Cross in 14.
So it'll be interesting to see how that's handled, like how it plays. But it would be nice to be able to like mix and match the swords, and I think that maybe they can do that if they can implement like a non-gear glamour slot. And the same thing for like they could make paladin shield and swords like a combined gear slot, but then you can glamour a different shield on using a specific like glamour slot.
What I'm kind of hoping for Viper, and I don't know if they'll do it, is stance-based. So you've, instead of like attack switching between like single swords and the combined sword, you can either pick to go single sword or combined sword, and it affects sort of what you can do.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the double sword is just like a maybe like the Reaper and Shroud mode, or if it's something that is more persistent.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be more like the Red Mage, where like you have like specific attacks when you when you get up close. That you can like.
Maybe they'll bring back stances for it'll have two different stances.
It would be honestly, it would be cool to see them bring back stances, but like it would also be strange when they moved away from it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it works. Obviously, the reason what it was for tanks wouldn't be something you would do for a DPS. So it would be something for some other reason. It could function more like something like how Black Mage rotates between two kind of It used to have to rotate. I don't know how it works these days.
Oh no, we still do.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Black Mage at least
Black
as of
Mage
this
doesn't
moment has not
change,
changed.
okay?
But
well, it has a lot of tools though. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It used to be like you spend time in this phase, you go back to this. But I think these days you
the same
bounce around a lot more.
the same basic stuff applies. It's just got more stuff.
Just
Yeah,
faster.
the thing with tank stances is it was never interesting. It was just like, oh, you're tanking, or you can do more damage, and that's not interesting.
Everybody always wanted to do more. Everybody always wanted to do more damage, and so you just stayed in the damage stance as much as possible.
Yeah, the way it can work with the DPS is basically one stance gets you a resource, another one spends it, or something like that. So
that's what I'm expecting. That's basically how Reaper works.
Yeah.
So I don't expect it to be the same, but I expect this a kind of similar concept.
You could also have it so like one stance is more focused on like single targets and one is AoE focused.
Yeah.
So one thing they said about it was like they said something about you'll weave a bunch of basically they didn't say use this word, and they basically you'll weave a bunch of OCDs through the GCDs. Which,
I figure that's not unusual.
Yeah.
I do expect it to play. How do I put this? I expect it to be closer to Dragoon.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is it well it applies to a lot of jobs that made me think it was Dragoon. That's kind of a big thing about how it works. Is that that was that was what I was getting at.
I feel like
think of that.
when it's all said and done, the closest comparison will be Dragoon. That's just
I think. It may have
Although
a bit of
They're
Dragoon.
changing Dragoon, so.
Yeah.
It could also pull a bit from Ninja because Ninja's sort of the only class right now left on its own.
Oh, it uses ninja gear. We know.
Yeah, they said. Yeah.
It's using scouting gear. We know.
But some of the ninja type mechanics, it could be something that could work with stances as well. Yeah. Or the swords.
Yeah. We'll have to see. I'll be interested to see if it has like a poison element because of the Viper stuff.
Yeah.
Because none of that like we only saw a few attacks, so it's really hard to say. But I wouldn't be surprised to see some poison theming out of it. So that could be neat. So we're also getting another job. We don't know what it is. We just know it's a magic DPS.
And the hint is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. So the two big contenders right now are Green Mage and Pictomancer. Yeah. And Green Mage is very. What does that even mean? Like it's barely
the thing about because
it was in like one Final Fantasy and it's never.
And it's like, that's the thing. Like they could do Green Mage and have it be a completely new job. You just call it Green Mage.
Yeah.
But that feels like something 14 wouldn't want to do because they can just name a new job if they want to do that.
Yeah.
And Green Mage in past games was like a barrier-based support class.
Yeah, it just does not feel like a.
Even
if when it's done, you can look at it and squint and say, "Yeah, that's Green Mage." I don't think it's gonna be called Green Mage.
Yeah, so Pictomancer makes more sense in that regard.
Yeah,
I didn't think about Pictomancer. Geomancer was the one I was thinking of that we still don't.
Well, we know Geomancer exists, and they've been very like, "Yeah, you're not gonna get Geomancer. It's just Eastern White Mage."
Yeah, and
that's like really what it is. It's Eastern Conjury. That's what it is. It's literally just Conjury, but in Othard.
Yeah, the fact that the hint is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles though is like that's all we have to go on. And either you take green from that, or you take the Renaissance painter.
Yeah, which and with how they've done stuff in the past, that one makes sense going in that direction from the clue.
Unless it's mutant mage.
Yeah. But yeah, like we just have nothing else. Although I do believe that Kryl is going to end up with that job.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like we have nothing else to go on. We have less than we had for Viper, and nobody got Viper right. So.
Yeah, we're also gonna get a new limited job, and the entire audience at the FanFest is in agreement with me that it's gonna be Beastmaster, but they didn't say anything.
It's probably Beastmaster, yes. If it's not Beastmaster, it could be Puppet Master, but I just don't see them doing that one.
Berserker.
Beastmaster feels more in demand.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because like, especially with like how Summoner is no longer pet based. It's like people who like pet-based gameplay don't have anything to play right now.
Yeah.
And with Beastmaster, you can do some unique things where you can go back into the older content and try to tame some of the bosses that are beasts.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll just have to see. I do think it's Beastmaster, or at least that's like the most likely one. Yeah. You could probably come up with some others, but they've mentioned it multiple times in connection to limited jobs, so that is definitely what everybody thinks.
Yeah.
Fall Guys.
Well, they showed the new tribe.
Oh, they did show the new tribe. They're
moblins.
They're Tyrol. They're Tyrol. They're just goblins, but in Tyrol.
Yeah, they're the Final Fantasy XI moblin tribe is coming back, which is relevant because the Alliance
they announced is Final Fantasy XI.
It's Final Fantasy XI, and we have never been happier because we were so scared it was going to be Final Fantasy 16. So, it's Echoes of Anadiel. It's the next Alliance raid. We don't know anything about it yet. People are torn on if it's gonna be they're gonna retell Final Fantasy XI stories like they did with Crystal Tower, or if it's gonna be more and of course Ivalice, or if it's gonna be more like a continuation, because we already have established that Vandiel exists, in a parallel dimension to 14. Multiple times.
Well,
already.
I'm going to tell you one thing. Shantoto's going to be there.
She better fucking be. She better fucking be.
She better be, because I never got to do the event she was in. So I've been a little salty.
Oh, that was so funny. That event was great.
Yeah, it was a great event. Yeah.
I think they ran it twice, but I think the second one was a month before I started or something.
Yeah, they did.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
It was right when I started. It started up.
Yeah, I remember seeing you post about it on Twitter. Back when it was still called Twitter.
Yeah, it's why I have it on my Nico Yazawa alt account, but not on Yozora.
Yeah, and I remember... so...
We can also add this to... it's another in the column of Final Fantasy XIV and Grand Blue Fantasy just increasingly becoming the same game.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
It is actually very funny that Grand Blue got a Final Fantasy XI event, major crossover before we did, but you know what? Whatever.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it though. I'm especially because I've made a lot of local Final Fantasy 14 friends throughout the meetups and such that we've been organizing, and we also met up at FanFest last month, and basically now we're planning on replaying Final Fantasy 11 to hype up for Dawntrail, and I never thought I was gonna get a group together to play 11 again. That seemed impossible.
So we got that. We don't know anything about the 8-man raid.
No.
We've seen a couple of bosses. We saw... What was the one we saw on the first FanFest? I don't remember what it was.
The first one they showed was the
flying lizard.
Yeah, the Valigarmanda.
Yeah,
the Eliminator.
Monster. And then this one was the Eliminator, which they said specifically is not a raid boss.
Yeah.
Which means I guess it could be a trial, but... One thing I saw speculated is that it is a dungeon.
Yeah, that could be
that thing that is being hidden. It looks big. It looks enormous.
Huge. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's.
I mean, we did go into Alexander, so doing that for a dungeon is not out of the realm.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming out of the Final Fantasy IV expansion. But Final Fantasy IV did have that huge end dungeon at the end that you were going inside the giant robot.
The giant Babil, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just the way that picture they showed us is framed. It just looks really big.
Yeah.
And they did specify that it is not a raid boss. So who knows?
So here's the question: is it a machine, or is it a living thing, or is it something in between?
Yeah. I mean, it looks extremely mechanical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Yoshi P gave this look to him when he said that. It's just these 5 seconds or so of silence of him just staring at.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
So Fall Guys.
Fall Guys, yes. I played a bit of it. It's Fall Guys.
I actually played quite a lot of it, and I started playing on my European alt, and like had a great time. I even won like several games, and then I started playing on my North American main account, and I haven't been able to get to the last act a single time. So that's annoying.
Yeah, the lag will get you.
Yeah.
Sure. I have not touched it yet. I want to do it at some point because I'm kind of curious about it. I've not played actual Fall Guys. I have played Fall Guys, a mini game in another game, a mobile game. So I'm kind of curious how this one will compare.
It's interesting because like one of the big things about the regular Fall Guys is player collision. You run into each other. You push each other off of things. You can't do that in 14. You pass through each other. So like, they replaced it with like various status effects just hitting you, and it's like it's very strange, but it works.
Hey, you know where else you can play Fall Guys? Grand Blue versus Rising.
Wait, really? Oh yeah, right. They have the single player thing. Well, not the single player thing, but like the
Grand Brews.
Yeah, right. Yeah. God damn it.
You can also sometimes play it in Honkai Impact 3.
Yeah, that's the one where I played it. I've done a bit. It's interesting how they do it, and as a side thing, it's not bad, but it is something where the server lag can feel. Plus, movement here. FF14's 3D movement can be a bit awkward times. Like, I struggle with some of the jumping puzzles for the summer event.
Yeah. We realized
it's not a precise platforming game.
Yeah, and we realized that it's like platforming in 14, at least in the Fall Guys event, is like much easier on keyboard and mouse than it is on controller, which is odd for a platformer to be. But like we first tried playing it with a controller, and it's like impossible to do any jumps in it because you don't have like that simple like right click moving forward mouse control to like shift your positioning quickly. But yeah, no, it's fun. It's fun. It's wonky, but it's fun.
And how long does that run? Is that like a long term thing?
Is that like... So basically what they're doing is it will be running. It will go on and off. So like right now it's gonna run throughout November, and then in early December it's going to go away, and then it's gonna come back, and it's gonna go like that.
It feels like a new version of the Garou stuff for PvP. Although they cycled between the two for just a complete tonal shift. It's like Fall Guys, Garou. Fall Guys, Garou.
I'm much more interested in trying Fall Guys than playing PvP.
Speaking of tonal shift, they did announce one more event. The Final Fantasy XVI event.
The least interested I've ever been in an event they've announced.
I've come to peace with it. So I don't know if we ever talked about 16 on this podcast.
No.
I hated Final Fantasy 16. I think it's the worst Final Fantasy ever made. I bought a PS5 for that game, and I'm glad I have Alan Wake 2 now, so it wasn't a waste of time. But when they announced it at the FanFest, I was like, oh god damn it, not more of this. But the fact that it's just a single event, like 15 got as well, and not a raid or some big like constant like oh you can get this as a trial in the regular game kind of thing, we're fine with it. Good for Final Fantasy 16 fans that they get something as well, and we do at least think it's funny. Like we do genuinely think Yoshi P's gag of like I asked the producer of Final Fantasy 16 and he said it was okay. Like that is a funny joke. So like fair enough.
That was funny, yes. Yeah, I didn't play it. I've mostly heard from you and a couple others about it, and quickly realized that I have no interest in it. But for the event, I'll probably do it. I'll just we'll see.
I'll do it.
I'll do it as well.
Like I didn't care about 15 either, but I did that and I got the car. Like, free him out. What else am I gonna do?
I didn't hate 16 as much as other people here, but definitely disappointed in it because. I think I rank it worse than, like, Tales of Arise, and that was a blood game as well. But I'll do the event.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't played it because I don't believe PS5s exist.
They basically don't, honestly.
They're easier to get than actual good modern graphics cards.
Yeah. So yeah, I have no interest in playing it. I'm not going to play it when it goes on PC. I just at this point I don't care.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah.
See,
so
for a crossover event, I don't know if the intercompany stuff would prevent it, but I kind of wish they would do a Star Ocean event.
I wanted a Kingdom Hearts event for a decade now. When are we getting that?
I think Disney's gonna.
Yeah, but they can do the original characters. They don't need to bring in Donald.
I don't know because I've heard. I think I remember hearing once that like when some of those characters, when even those characters showed up in some mobile Final Fantasies as collabs, they had like Disney's stuff plastered all over them apparently.
Maybe
so
I just know that when Smash Bros. Finally got Sora, they actually talked to Sakurai about it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, no, it wasn't the problem with Disney at all. That was not an issue." And Sora and Kairi and such have appeared in a bunch of Final Fantasy spin-offs, including World of Final Fantasy. Sora's in that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So.
But
maybe I just heard one particular person talk about that once. Maybe it wasn't them specifically then.
Yeah.
But I'm having fun with Star Ocean Remake too, and they should bring that in. They should branch out to more collabs for actually more Square Enix games.
Remember the Tactics Ogre plotline?
They could continue that.
That was the thing.
They could do more with that.
I mean, if we've done robots, why not Front Mission?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
all right.
That should
Anything else?
Yeah, I think that basically covers everything that we missed out on.
Yeah.
So yeah. Next FanFest is in January, and probably .55 will be after that.
It should be right before it.
Right before it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because that way they can then.
Oh yeah, of
talk
course.
About it.
Yeah, of course. Because then you don't have to worry about.
Because that's the thing; they can't talk about it because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah,
so I imagine it'll probably happen a week before or something.
Yeah,
because I think that's what happened most times. Is it was very shortly before.
Yeah.
Which is actually a little annoying if you're at the fan fest for some people, but at least it was.
The previous time they had physical fan fests, Europe was last. So we got the big final reveals for Shadowbringers, so that was really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll see what happens there, and.
We're getting another Hildebrand and the Beast Tribe finale quest in 6.55.
Yeah, so they'll be finishing off the current Hildebrand quest, the Relic, the Beast Tribes, basically the stuff that you normally expect from 6.55s. There'll also be the FanFest trial, Asura.
Oh yeah, I did that one. I guess I didn't really talk about FanFest as a thing at all, but oh well. That's probably fun.
That'll probably be part of Hildebrand, like Yojimbo was.
Probably.
You probably have time to talk about FanFest if you want to.
So I don't want to extend the episode too much, but I do want to mention that we complained. I complained after Final Fantasy FanFest in 2019. Because, we did the Yojimbo trial and didn't get a t-shirt out of it. We only got a sticker. Well, apparently now they don't even do that. You get nothing for beating the battle challenge. This is actually, one of the big complaints I had about FanFest. And they actually just sent out the surveys to, fill in what you thought of the FanFest today. But it's a very expensive event. Which is fun, and it's a really fun event, and it's we're very, very happy that I went, but you used to actually get stuff out of these things, as a player, if you took part in the various things, you could win little things.
Yeah.
And there was nothing of that now. All the minigames, all the challenges, no, you didn't get anything. It was just there to pass the time. And when it's already a festival full of queuing, and the only way to get things is to pay for something and then stand in a queue for hours. it kind of makes the mini games and extra things around the event feel empty and pointless. Because like, why would I waste my time, like, going bowling with the soap ball boss from the variant dungeons, when like that's gonna take up a half hour to get there, and add another 2 hours to the crafting table queue that I actually have to buy to use, and yeah, it was messy, and like no rules really applied either, which was very strange. Like you got this booklet with like various rules that like, oh, if you're gonna get something signed, it has to be a special poster signed or signed in this booklet. But like people, like the talents that were there, they signed anything. They would sign anything, and it was like battle challenge. You're only allowed to do the battle challenge once, and then you get a little stamp in the booklet, and you're done when you beat it. No, no one got a booklet stamped. People just went back and did it again all the time. I did. Like, it's like there was no rules. They were just like, they said you can't do this, and then you were allowed to do it, and it was strange.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, that's just, conventions are like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was a whole Dan Olsen has a whole video about how there was a big gacha based disaster at the most recent BlizzCon.
Yeah, so, I watched that. Yeah, it was yeah.
Like, well, there may not be gacha in World of Warcraft, but apparently there's gacha at their conventions. So whatever.
Yeah, at least I got the grapes.
Yeah, that's true. They got what's important. You got physical low poly grapes.
Yeah. All right. So, anyone has anything they want to mention that they're doing?
Not really. I'm going to try to get the Beast Tribes done by 6.55. I think I still have like a third of a level to get to the final level for the Omicrons, and then I just need to finish up the.
Maybe
maybe
I'll.
I finished Loprits like last week. So now I'm just trying to make sure I have everything fully leveled before the expansion at this point, mainly.
I'm slowly working.
I have like a quarter of the jobs to finish leveling.
I'm slowly working on getting Island to the new max, and maybe one day, even though I keep saying it, I'll actually max level fishing.
I really want to do the variant dungeons. I haven't done the last two.
I haven't touched it since we ran through that first one together.
Yeah, I want to actually get all the endings for all of those because it's fun. I've gotten most of them for the first one, but not the other ones. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. We'll be back probably after FanFest in January then. Unless we find something to talk about it before then, but we'll see. Stand tall, our friend. Our journey never ends.
See ya.
See ya.